Hey there, and happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for making the time to watch this replay. I hope you're having a great week so far. We are talking today about creating SEO-friendly messaging. Now, if you're trying to create content, whether that's written blog posts or videos on YouTube so that your ideal client can discover you, you've probably heard of or thought about SEO. And there's a lot of effort that goes into researching and finding the right keywords to help your content show up in those search results. As much as we would like to, we can't really put any kind of content we want out there and expect that people are going to find us, right? So today's messaging mini class is for you. I'm going to be talking all about how to create SEO-friendly messaging. Now, for those of you who don't know me or don't know me well, my name is Carrie Price. I'm a brand messaging coach, helping ambitious service-based business owners find and own the words to stand out, be heard, and make your message roar. Now, if you are watching this video today, whether you're here with me live or you're watching the replay, please say hello in the comments below so I can greet you properly, and thank you so much for making the time to be here. Now, I also would love to know what kind of content you are putting out there that you're hoping attracts your ideal client. There's two main pieces or types of content that is easily searchable. And as far as like where it's located, where SEO becomes a really important piece of that, and that's usually your blog on your website or pages that you're putting up on your website, but it also can apply to YouTube and being found via search on YouTube. Hey Helen, so great to have you here. Thank you for joining me live today. Now, there's other things that you can do to increase the likelihood of being found where keywords also matter. Things like Pinterest, which is also a search engine, less of a social media platform. And so for all of these things, you are looking for a way to put content out there that people are actually going to find you, right? There's the kind of marketing that you're putting yourself out there with social media, or people are already on your list and you're sending out emails. But we're talking today about content that is going to allow new people to discover you. And that's really where SEO comes into play. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with that term, SEO stands for search engine optimization. And basically, it's about creating content that allows all the search engines, whether that's Google or any other search tool that people are using, right? You open up a browser, you type in a phrase, and you look for search results. Same thing happens when people are on YouTube. They are probably, some people will subscribe to your channel, but they first have to discover you. And often people will find you because they've searched for a word, phrase, or a question that they have, and they're looking for answers. Same thing happens over on Pinterest. So SEO is all about having content that is optimized to be found by the search. So you hear a lot of people talk about keywords and all the research that goes into keywords. And in fact, a recent episode of Amy Porterfield's Online Marketing Made Easy podcast, she interviewed Neil Patel, and he was talking all about SEO. I actually really recommend that episode. I've bookmarked it for myself, and I've grabbed the freebies and the cheat sheets that are a part in her show notes. It's episode 221. So you can go to amyporterfield.com/221 to get to the show notes and listen to that episode. But in that episode, he breaks down a 3-month plan to start creating content that is going to get you SEO results. Hey, Deborah, good morning. So great to have you here with me today. Hey, Jill, so great that you're able to join me live today. Thank you for being here. So in Neil Patel's 3-month plan that he broke down in that podcast episode, month 1, the entire first month, was about research. Now, he gave some really ninja tips that I can't wait to carve out time and use the tools that he recommended. So again, amyporterfield.com/221, episode 221 is her interview with Neil Patel. But the entire first month is on research and identifying the topics to talk about and the keywords to use. Here's my Roseanne. Hi. So great to see you. Thanks for joining me live today. So here's my Reader's Digest version, my 30,000 foot summary of the things that you need to be thinking about when you're planning your content that you want to be discoverable, right? So this is the content on your blog or videos, wherever you are putting that you want people to find you. So what most of the experts recommend, you're going to do all this research to identify these keywords for that core content to write, because it's the things that your audience are looking for, right? And like I said, in Neil Patel's plan, like he says, give it a whole month of research to do this. Here's the thing to think about though with SEO. If your goal is all about being found, like being searchable, what is it your ideal clients are searching for? How do you create SEO-friendly messaging? You create messaging that's relatable to your ideal client. It's getting really clear about your niche, what it is their pains, problems, and struggles are, and how it's showing up for them, and what it is they're after. What are the results, benefits, and transformation? Does this stuff sound familiar? For those of you who followed me for any length of time, this is what your message should be doing for you anyway. When you make your message roar and you really focus your content on the things that your ideal client's going to care about, guess what? It's SEO friendly because it's the things that they're searching for. How do I solve this problem? I'm struggling with this thing. I want this result. Well, if your message consistently and reliably speaks to those things, you'll put out more content that addresses those areas, right? And the more content that you put out on a topic that is using the words, the keywords that people are looking for, you rank higher in these search engine algorithms. You guys, algorithms, I feel like lately is a bad word, right? Like everyone's frustrated with the Facebook algorithm and the things that they do. Search engine algorithms are a good kind of algorithm. It's, when you go to search for something online, you're trying to find the most relevant topics that answer or address the search term that you're putting in there, right? So why wouldn't you put out content that's what your ideal client is looking for? Hey, Karen, so glad to have you here with me live. Yeah, Helen says it's all about being relatable. That is the number one step in making your message roar, right? It's having a message that's relatable to your ideal client. That means you really have to understand your ideal client, and it's much more than the ideal client avatar. I've talked about that before. Your ideal client avatar does not tell you how to speak to them, but you need to be able to talk about the things they care about, which is exactly what you get when you develop your messaging framework. So if you're feeling like you need to spend all this time doing the keyword analysis, I'm not saying you shouldn't do any of it. You absolutely should to help optimize your content. But if I almost feel like that's like the wrong motivation for the content that you're putting out there. It's, well, I should write this article because an SEO keyword might help me get noticed. Well, noticed by who? I mean, I could go do all the keyword research and probably find keywords and topics that would get people's attention. But if it's not my area of expertise, if it's not attracting my ideal client, the people I want to attract into my inner circles, right, that could ultimately become a paying client, then it doesn't serve me and it doesn't really serve them. Because yeah, they might find you, then they're going to come and get to know about you. But is the rest of your content going to be reliable and consistent with that? Is your service offerings going to help them with that? If no, then that's the wrong motivation for what to write your content about, right? So I want you to really think about how well you know your ideal client. It is a key fundamental piece of making your message roar. It comes before you can create the one-of-a-kind message that you're going to put out there, right? It's step one. Well, technically it's step two, because you first have to understand what your business goals and drivers are. But making your message roar, the more that you are in tune, speaking your ideal client's language, knowing how their problems show up for them and what it is they truly want, and how, like, the results you're able to give them, your content is more naturally going to be SEO friendly. So you take what you know about your message and then you plug it into these techniques to optimize the keywords. And don't rewrite your content. Like, your message shouldn't be defined by keywords, right? Your ideal client helps you define your message, but pick the things that might help you get better search results. Sure, but don't let that be your driver. That's not what helps you determine the content that you should be writing about. Because if people aren't searching for it, it means it's not a problem that they have to solve, right? So with any content that you're planning, you want to make sure that it's helping you deliver your consistent, relatable message. And that will help you get found by brand new people. This, again, just to recap, this applies to whether you're doing blogging and writing written posts, or if you're doing videos, and especially if you share those to a YouTube channel, and making sure you optimize your descriptions and your titles to help you be found. But the content and the topics that you write about, that will come much more easily after you build your messaging foundation. So let me know in the comments below what questions you have about that. And do you feel like you know enough about your client right now, your ideal dreamiest client, that you could build, if you don't already have it, you could build a bank of content that would help you show up in the search results, be seen as the expert when people are searching for that, and then have enough to get people to move into your inner circles. So for those of you who've not heard me describe it that way before, a lot of people talk about a marketing funnel, right? The top of the funnel is a lot of people, and then you move them down the steps and they get closer and closer to you. I think about this in rings around you. All these people out there in the universe, you want to get them into that first ring. You've got to get their attention. This is the content that I'm talking about. It's that stuff that you're putting out there where they're going to be searching for answers. They're going to be finding you. But then what else do you have in place that continues to move them in the circles closer and closer to you, allowing you to be seen as the expert that they want to work with? Jill asks a great question. Does SEO look for the keywords in the title or the entire post? Both. There are definitely strategies for the content of what they're looking for. It's absolutely reading all of your content in the entire post, but titles and headings do get priority. So there's tips for how to write your content. One, it makes it more readable. Here's the other thing, you guys. All the tips that you're going to read or hear about making your content SEO friendly are also just great tips for how to put out content that people like to consume. So breaking up your content into sections, not having large blocks of text, but smaller paragraphs, bulleted lists, using titles and headings in your content to break it up, that actually also helps you with SEO. So getting really smart about how you present your content is going to naturally help you show up better in the search rankings. What other questions do you guys have about, oh, and I want to know, do you feel like you understand your ideal clients well enough right now that you could create, let's just call it 3 months of content? And when I say 3 months of content, that's not putting out new stuff every day, but could you every week put out some type of content that is geared, targeted, and aimed directly at your ideal client that would help you get discovered? What is it they're looking for? So even if you're watching the replay, I want you to share that with me in the comments below. And then again, I highly recommend episode 221 of Amy Porterfield's Online Marketing Made Easy podcast, where she interviews Neil Patel. He gives a 3-month SEO plan because there's some really like tips I haven't heard before and tools to use to help you monitor how well some keywords are doing. But don't do that in isolation. Don't do that as your only activity to try and figure out what content to write. You first need to make sure you really understand your ideal client. And as you build your messaging foundation, it's going to help you narrow in the work that you need to do to find the keywords that might continue to help prompt you for more content, but that shouldn't be where you start. Okay, Roseanne says maybe. Roseanne, maybe, answering my question, you maybe have 3 months of content. Okay, then spend a few minutes and think about that. Outline, could you put out some content every week for something that you think people would be looking for that could help you get found? And if not, what do you need to do to continue to expand on your messaging foundation to have that and feel confident that you have that? Jill says, I'm focused on this right now because my ideal client uses some language that I use, but differently. So the gap is space for content I can bring for their learning. Yeah, and this is a really important part of developing the messaging foundation. And Jill's been working on this. And Jill, your message continues to evolve in such a really, really strong way because you're listening to your ideal client. You found places where you can hear and see the language that they're using. And the more that you, in the outer rings, especially of your marketing, you focus on speaking their language and then positioning yourself with your one-of-a-kind way of talking about what you do, that marriage together is going to definitely help more people find you. And all of your content is not outer ring content, right? So when I talk about this being your SEO friendly, what are people going to search for to find you? Then you need to have content that continues to warm them up, move them closer to you, right? So there's a whole spectrum of content. SEO is outer ring, though. This is that stuff that might be the very first time they stumble upon you. And so, Jill, having additional content that helps them, better understand your point of view, what it is you believe about learning, and how it benefits them, that will continue to move them in the ring. Look, this is partly why people blog or do YouTube channels, right? You get people to stumble across you, and then ultimately you want them to binge a little bit on your content. So what content do you have that's going to keep warming them up? Roseanne says, I set up a list for 52 weeks of topics for content, but I've not tested it with my audience. Oh, first of all, the fact that you've done that and you've started to identify that, Roseanne, is huge. And as you start building that out, that's going to make your marketing so much easier. I find them interesting, and I think they would find them interesting, but I want to test it before I spend the time on it. Okay, so Roseanne, what would you do to test it out? How could you test the various topics and see how people respond to that? You can put it out and the content out in different ways. So maybe you're putting it out as social media content and see what kind of engagement you get. Especially if whether you've got your own page, your own group, or you're engaging in places where your ideal client hangs out, or maybe you already have an email list and you start to sprinkle in this content and see, have calls to action in there and see what kind of response you're getting. You absolutely can test it out. But you also can just load that content up and start running your traffic through that and monitor it after the fact. So let's say you load up 12 weeks of content and you watch your open rates. Now, open rates are going to also be impacted by your subject line. So it'll be all in how you write that. But look at your open rates and click-through rates if you've got calls to action on that. Maybe you tease the topic in the email and then you drive to a blog post and you see who clicks through to read more. And you go back and you monitor that over time. And you see, all right, well, email number 3 gets lots of clicks. I'm going to start writing more content that's like week number 3, and you add that to your list. Well, week number 6 email didn't seem to get so much content. All right, great. So put that one away, and maybe that's not an area you focus on. You don't have to write all 52 weeks at once. get started with a few months of content and start driving traffic to see that content, and then monitor that and make adjustments as you go. And that'll help you build that content over time. And when you start, a lot of people will say, like, they write a whole bunch of stuff and there'll be this one post that people will say goes viral, or that, you know, they get a lot of views on a piece of content. Well, then you're onto something, right? Then you start reading the comments to see what people are responding to. You see where the traffic is coming from to that piece of content, and start writing more around that similar topic, different angles on the same topic, and see if it continues to drive more traffic. So there's lots of things you can do to test that out and validate it as you go. So you don't have to wait to do the whole 52, but I love that you've thought about that and you started thinking and planning towards it, because once you do that, it'll make your marketing so much easier. You can go out there and engage with people, let them find you and attract you, and then you've already got inner rings of content that continue to warm them up and nurture them and ultimately drive them to being a client, right? Okay, I'm going to stick around for just another 15 seconds or so because of the delay. Let me know if you've got any more questions. If you're watching the replay, please share with me in the comments below. Do you feel like you understand your ideal client enough that you could right now create content that is going to help you get found, that is already SEO friendly? And if not, tell me in the comments below what you think you need to get there. Hey, Helen, thanks so much for joining me live today. I really appreciate it. I'm wrapping it up, but yeah, come back and check the replay in case we get going here with a couple questions. Have a wonderful day. Okay, if there are no other questions, I'm going to wrap it up. I want to end with just a couple thoughts today. I don't really get political mostly online at all, but today is 9/11, and I know that so many people are thinking about where they were 17 years ago. I know I've been thinking about that all morning, and for all the lives lost and for all the first responders, and really seeing our country come together in a way that sometimes I think we lose sight of with all the stuff that's going on in the world and the politics today. So I know I took a moment to remember this morning. I encourage you to do that too. Hug your loved ones, call your loved ones today. Life is short. My second thought I want to send out today is for those of you in the path of Hurricane Florence. Please be safe. My thoughts are totally with you. I actually still currently have a plane ticket. I was supposed to be headed to the Outer Banks on Friday of this week. Now, obviously, we're assuming the flight's going to get canceled. Everybody's under mandatory evacuation in the Outer Banks, but we're watching that very, very closely because we were supposed to be there. And this looks to be, unfortunately, a pretty catastrophic storm. So please evacuate if you're being called to do that. Please be safe. And let's hope that this miraculously peters out and does not turn into the storm that they are currently predicting. All right. Beyond that, you guys, go out there, get to know your ideal client, build your messaging foundation. If you don't feel like you have that, reach out to me and let's talk. That's exactly what I help you do. It's so important to making all of your marketing more effective, making you naturally more SEO friendly, and getting you to stand out in the market and be seen as the expert that you are. So until next week, don't settle for sounding like anybody else. Make sure you stand out, you get heard, make your message roar. Have a great day. Bye.